It is 1800, and so it's time for part 2 of this Sunday's ReConnection chat. We have a lot of good information today, man. I'm so excited because 2 great topics. Topic number 2, our sister Candice Demiza. She's a filmmaker, and she actually created a documentary that, if you haven't seen it already, I'm going to share it after this meeting into our WhatsApp group so you can check it out. It's entitled Will. I don't want to give too much away, sister, if you don't mind, could you introduce yourself to us? And then also, can we just jump into kind of the origin and the basis of your documentary?
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. And Alfio, we share similar lineages because I am also Tikar and House of Fulani from Cameroon and Bubi from Bioko Island on my mother's side. So I was like, oh, okay.
Wow, I didn't know that. So you got both Cameroon then on both sides.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's one side. I haven't done my dad's side yet.
Wow.
We're gonna figure that out.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
We gotta figure that out. Okay. My dad's from Haiti, so we're gonna take a pit stop first in Haiti and then a little bit around. But yeah, I'm an artist and I work a lot with text and writing and film, and I merge a lot of indigenous African spirituality and diasporic African spirituality into my projects. And so Whale is essentially, it uses different rituals inspired by different African practices and combines them on top of audio documentary about the history of convict leasing, which I'm in Texas, which replaced the system of enslavement. And prior to like undertaking this project, I had this idea that enslavement was like the height of barbarism as far as what has happened to African people on American soil. And then there's levels, right? I think most of us, whenever there's talk about slavery, it's like, this is the worst. And then everything since then is either like a plateau or kind of like subtly getting a little bit better. And convict leasing was essentially like slavery perfected. I wish that I had heard about it with that type of language, like something worse than slavery replaced slavery. And in a sense, it's never gone away. And that was a critical shift. So there was this period between right after enslavement in Texas and up until about 1912, where you took away the idea that before you have human trafficking, barbarism, what we call enslavement, it's human trafficking, it's barbarism. But there was some very small incentive to not killing the people that you own because there's a financial cost. And then when the state, after the 13th Amendment, which again, all of these lies that we're told in history, that the 13th Amendment abolished slavery in the US, and it did not. It made it legal. It legalized slavery, and it's never changed. So once slavery was made legal in the Constitution, the state could own people now. And it just moved slavery from private citizens now to the state, where the state could literally sell people. And then now I can work a human till they die and I don't lose any money. And that's essentially what was happening. And in 2018, a cemetery where these bodies had been thrown, these humans, our beloved ancestors who were victims of this system, were thrown here, and it was unearthed on accident. Let's see. And then a whole nother poop storm ensued. So my project is about the history of this cemetery and this system that was around sugarcane plantations. That's one of my kids. The whole time they were not out here. As soon as I talked, do you see? Now we have a whole family gathering. And the cat's here. It's like everybody's here now. But whale is about these ideas that I've had about what would the vibratory frequency have to be if we were gonna use our voice to call down divine justice, right? Like how loud would we have to yell or scream or sing to make the ancestors' bones come up from the grave, right? That was this picture I kept having. Like how loud would we all have to wail until, you know, we could call all these other forces into this battle, into this situation. So the rituals on top are my artistic way. I say art because, you know, in a lot of indigenous African cultural worldview, there's no word for art. There's no like separation like we have in the West where you sit back and you just watch, you know? So other people think that the ritual is art. And I know that the ritual is ritual. And here I just move around the parameters of what people think is happening. We do rituals on top of, on the cemetery land, and then with the audio, just kind of playing with this concept, like what practices within our own bloodlines allow us to operate in how we view history in a different way? What if history is not history as in something that's already passed? What if in the concept of the realm where ancestors are living on top with us and we are, you know, time is not linear, then this means I can actually intervene in the past right now. And the past is intervening in my present, which then transforms my future, right? I clear my ancestors help me clear. So our children, 16 generations from now, are clear. So it's like this kind of dialogue is the whole vision of why ritual is layered with documentary to kind of influence history in a different way. That's a long explanation. Also, if you watch it, it's just pretty. It's pretty, but there's rituals from 5 different indigenous African or African diasporic practices. There's Vodou from my Haitian ancestry, Bakongo from Angola, because it has a connection to the region. There is some leaning toward Ifa with the Yoruba of Nigeria, and the Black Southern tradition, which is still connected to this unbroken lineage to West Africa, you know. And the 5th is Dagara. I've been studying with Elder Malidoma Somé. And so really, really have learned a lot from those rituals and practices. So those are the 5 that are used in the whole project.
Don't worry, we're about to dissect this, break it down. I'm sure we got so many questions. I just want to say my little question and jump and mute my mic and let everyone else hop on and their questions and comments as well. It's a lot. I watched it, right? The first thing I noticed was Lead Belly. You had a song with Lead Belly, right? And I was telling Monkey I'm a guitarist. I play guitar. So of course I'm in tune with, you know, with that type of music. It's one of my favorite styles of music. But he was singing this song basically saying, you know, don't break the law or you're gonna go to jail in Sugarland. And so I'm watching Django. I hate movies, right? I hate slave movies. I'll just say that out front. I hate it. That's a different conversation. But, you know, in Django, what was the plantation called? Like Candy, it was like Candyland or something. And I'm thinking, wow, they make profit off of our people's actual suffering. But that's just a comment. My question is, you mentioned divine justice from the ancestors. Could you kind of go into that and give us your interpretation of divine justice? And that's my only question for now. I'm going to mute myself and let everyone else hop on because, you know, this is a hot topic.
Yeah. So I think about this a lot, right? Like if time is not linear, then even the way that we approach talking about things that have happened to people of African descent and the things that are happening to people of African descent need to be reframed, right? Like if time, okay, oh my God, I'm about to go way deep in, okay, hopefully this makes sense, but I only talk about it with myself. And like, if time is not linear, but instead it's like a chessboard played this way, right? Which means that you may kill me here. And because I'm connected in an ancestral lineage where my people stay connected, I just move forward in the timeline and play the game this way, right? So you may win right here, but because Europeans have divorced themselves from connection to the land, they've divorced themselves from connection to their own culture, from their own ancestors. Ultimately, we win. Ultimately, we win because we play forward and backwards in time, and they can only play a linear plane. So in this sense, it's like, okay, you got me here, but in 400 years, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to come back and I'm going to finish the stuff I started because I know you. And we've been in communication about it, like this resurgence of all of us coming into an awareness of who we are and finding our people is not by accident. They're playing the long game. We're not losing nothing. They're losing. They're playing one plane and we play all planes of existence simultaneously across generations. So it's like, so I toy with this idea, and then the Bakongo specifically, like this idea that, even Degar, like you can, when you come back, you may come back in the spirit of nature. And in reference to sugar cane plantations, I thought, oh, isn't it interesting that you kill a people, throw their blood in the soil, crops grow on top of it, and the sugar that you use to sweeten your tea or your coffee is the blood of the people that you killed. I wonder what that does to you. And that's one of the pieces that I wrote. And I thought, and then I wrote like, justice is sweet on the lips of the ancestors when the blood you shed is the blood you'll drink in your coffee. And it's just this idea that divine justice operates on it's much larger than what we might attain on the physical plane. And I think that concept, if allowed to be explored more, would help move our dialogue about how we talk about our condition into something that is actually more life-affirming and powerful. Not to say that the conditions that we experience do not exist, and they are very real. But it is also to say that conceptually, Harriet Tubman, there's this concept of Harriet Tubman as a time traveler that I'm obsessed with, because Harriet Tubman had a traumatic head injury, right? But when Harriet Tubman was about 20, she had a vision of Black people free in a time where she's obviously not free. And she walked around all day saying, in the present tense, my people are free, not will be, are free. Because she took a future vision and made it in her present, all of her actions created her as a liberator of a society. What? Is that my homie? That is my homie, sorry. Is
Welcome,
that
homie. Homie, welcome to the Reconnected Grassroots. Continue, sister. Please.
That's
continue.
my homie. I'm so excited. So her future vision influenced her present, which then influenced our present. And we, in the present, often look back to Harriet Tubman as an example of liberation, right? But we're not free now. So I sometimes wonder, Harriet Tubman may have seen past us, and we're looking back at her, and each of us are looking at each other in this ongoing dialogue, right? Like, she's pulling into her past, into her present, a future that didn't exist, but she created a future that would exist because she was willing to act outside of time, right? And so like understanding that the conditions that exist now are only data, it's information. I don't have to abide by it or agree to it. And if I conceive of us within a nonlinear context, I can create a reality on top of the reality you've created for you. And it can be real for me now, and no one can take it from me. Not a system, not colonialism, not white supremacy. You can influence the environment, but you can't shift the way in which I view myself, my people, and from that, a future is always created. So that is what I hope to do, and that's what I'm toying with in my art projects.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Royal Queen Pam, I see your hand is up. Feel free, the floor is yours. I see you're unmuted. The floor is yours.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, I'm sorry. I said thank you, and I wanted to welcome the sister aboard and tell her thank you for being here. And I wanted to ask her, she was speaking on the cemetery. With speaking on the cemetery, are you speaking the one where they marker from where the people are buried and
oh man, I missed some of that right at the end. I heard the cemetery where they markered.
Can you say it again?
Sorry, I only heard the first part of your question.
I was asking the cemetery that you were speaking about, was it the cemetery where they were laying in an unmarked grave and they have no idea where? Is that the cemetery referring to? Or is there another one like that one?
I think I heard you, but it was a little spotty. But yes, it was an unmarked cemetery. It's in Sugar Land, Texas. And the bodies were, the story of how these bodies got here and the story of what happened after they found them are almost the same in terms of how upsetting it is, because people are still trying to profit off of Black death and Black labor and Black bodies to this day.
Right, there's another one exactly like what you're speaking of in Arkansas. And it's sad because it's unmarked graves. People from 1800 and above were buried there. One of my ancestors is there. We tracked it down to there, and we wanted to go put, flowers on a grave and give her a headstone. And when we found out, they had no idea which grave, where she's at. I want to go back and tell them, dig up all of them and find her. That's how deep I feel it is, because there's no reason why we should know where our ancestors are. You just dig up all the headstones, you cut the grass. They said they were taking care of the cemetery. So you cut the grass and you threw all of the stakes on the side. And then later on you said, oops, I'm sorry. Well, we just don't put any down anywhere. And we just know that these Black people are buried here. It was unreal. I couldn't believe it.
I almost don't even know what to say, because it's the height of disrespect. It's the height of disrespect that this happens. This particular cemetery was unknown because once they were labeled convicts, nobody cared, which is crazy, because when you look at what they were convicted of, a lot of it was theft. And and the irony, it could make you sick. These people are accused of theft, but they're a stolen people on stolen land, but they're the ones who are being worked for. Like, you can't make any sense of it. And then that's a really recurring problem, African-American cemeteries that are completely in disrepair and not cared for, unmarked.
Yeah, because they used to just call them Negro cemetery, Negro colored.
I think I never intended when I started this project to get into burial work or anything related to that just kind of happened accidentally. Like, wasn't expecting that. A woman did contact me in California who has been doing work to restore an African-American cemetery in East Texas, different conditions. Like this one is because they were like wards of the state, you know, and were literally just thrown away. But these other sites where these were like historically Black communities after enslavement, and over time they've been developed on top of, and nobody's cared about them. But it's also in line the same with how Indigenous burial grounds are treated as well. Like, no one cares about the people who tended this land for thousands of years and where their sacred sites are. And so on this land, we just are kind of inheriting the treatment of the people who were here first as well, which is there's no reverence for any death. But also Europeans don't have any real reverence for death and ancestors in general. So this is like part of their whole practice, is to throw people in coffins and then throw them in the ground and not let the bodies go back to the earth, to just be like, oh, they're dead, let's move on.
Or cremate. Brother Al, I see you, brother. The floor is yours. Unmute yourself. Please, s'il vous plaît.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I
Yes,
just
sir.
wanted to add on what you were saying about the burial grounds, because I remember reading a article. It was somewhere up north. I believe it was I think in New York or something like that. That they build. I want to say they build like a shopping mall or like a parking garage on top of a burial site where Black people were buried. So yeah, that just go to show, that like the sister said, they don't care, they don't care about us, man. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, brother Al.
Uh,
Sister Pam, your hand is up. I don't know if the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like what the brother was saying, the way they build over our people, they've been a whole city of us washed underwater, and their boats floating like this is a lake, and they're floating through the lake like, hey, this is a beautiful lake, this is a great place, but underneath that lake and underneath that water is a whole town. And it's unreal that it could be like that. And it's so disrespectful to the fullest, and it takes youthful people like ourselves to stand up and say, hey, enough is enough. Let's drain this water and let's find out about our people, or let's dig up this grave right here and find my ancestor, because they are there and they do matter. Because I know for myself, I contacted the government, and I told them I'm still waiting on them. And I told them I want to resume her remains. I want to know where she's at. And they say it's impossible. Absolutely, is it not impossible? If you have to dig up every single grave, then you do that and you find it. It's going to take people like us to do things like that to get to the root of the problem, because there's no telling how many of our ancestors were drowned there. We don't know. What is under there? We know it's a whole city, but have you ever seen a city of any white folks? No. Absolutely not. I've never seen not one. But this really is like that to this day. And you're right, they don't care. It's not a big deal because it's not their people. Nobody's going to make a big deal out of it. Nobody's going to say anything about it. It's not a big issue, but it does matter to us. You know, the small things to us really matters. To them, it's like, so what? Like when my granddaughter's baby was born, they immediately put African American. I was like, oh, no, we're going to change that. And I told the lady what she was, and she says, we don't have a spot for that. It's deep. And I told my granddaughter, I said, that's okay. I said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to amend this, and they're going to fix this. It's going to be amended and it's going to be fixed. So don't worry about what this lady is saying, because they can't tell you nothing. And then they wanted to vaccine her. I told them, no, vaccine yours when they come out, but she's not getting vaccine. You know, she's not getting vaccinated. So it's like they immediately want to destroy us as people. They immediately want to take control of you as a person and just run with it. And I think that it's not going to stop unless we as people come together as one and start really standing up to them. There's no reason why we shouldn't be. We're not afraid. We weren't afraid then when our ancestors were slaves. They weren't afraid to stand up. We have to take that same encouragement and strength and come together as one, you know, not being against one another, but coming together seriously as one, as a team, and get this done.
Powerful, Royal Queen Pound, very powerful. And it ties into what Brother Al was saying regarding the last names. You know, soon as our children are born into this world, they're born with that European last name, unless, you know, we make that step to legally change that name to reclaim our name. But if not, as soon as they're born, on that document, their birth certificate, you're already stamped with their last name. But I want to get back on this documentary for 1 second. Sister Candice, I noticed it starts out after the Lead Belly song. It gives us a quotation from the book of Genesis from the Torah, all right? And it goes into the story of Cain being jealous of his brother Abel, and then he strikes him down. Abel's blood spills on the ground, and then you repeat it. It's repeated over and over. It's like, Cain, what did you do? Or Cain, what did you do? Or something in that aspect. So from that, I'm just curious, as an artist, were you using that to draw an analogy, basically saying Cain as the, you know, our oppressor, and then Abel being us? Or were you kind of just trying to tie that into, or better yet, instead of me giving you my interpretation, could you explain to us kind of your artistic perspective or reasoning for that with the Cain and the Abel analogy?
Yeah, I like your interpretation, because that's essentially, yeah, what it was when I was thinking about Whale. It is inspired by funerary traditions where grieving happens openly. Like, there are the wailing women who signal to the community, like, it's time to grieve. And I know that there are verses in the Bible where it's like, call for the wailing women, right? And then we see it in some like Southern Black traditions where, you know, like, I remember making fun of it, but not understanding that this is a connection to African funerary traditions where the women like, oh Lord. And I just remember thinking that's so funny, but there's a community wellness when women grieve openly and loudly that signals to everyone that grief can exist here. They can be cleansed of grief, because grief that's left unprocessed is a cancer to a community. And Elder Malidoma Somé talks about that a lot in his book, Ritual. So I was pulling like, okay, biblical text talks about this, and then we're going to go through these different funerary traditions. But it did come to me, this idea about like, what the land remembers, what the spirit of the land remembers. And then in the Bible, the idea that the blood cries out to God from the ground. The land is actually bearing witness against the crimes of humanity to God. And also the play on like sugarcane. This is all about sugarcane and Cain. So that was why I picked it. Really was blood crying out to the ground, from the ground, to bear witness, the earth as witness. And the idea also that Cain is then expelled from the land, where it says the land won't produce for you, which made me think about Europeans even need to leave Europe, you know? the crimes you committed on your own soil, the land wouldn't even be fertile anymore for you. So you had to go somewhere else and repeat the crimes and then get other people to work it because it doesn't produce for you the way it produces for people of the land who are not at odds with the land. And then sugar cane, you know, this allusion to the profiting off of sugar cane and then naming a whole entire city based on it.
Sugarland, right.
Sugarland.
You know, I wonder, is it mere coincidence that you mentioned your father was from Haiti, from Haiti, and knowing that one of the staple crops in Haiti was the sugar cane, and you mentioned the divine justice, and you just tied into the analogy of Cain being expelled. I'm just wondering, was all this mere coincidence that just like in Haiti, you know, if you read that, I'm sure you have read it, I'm sure we've all read it, the 1805 Constitution? It's 1804 or 1805. It's one of the constitutions from that year, but it's 1804 or 1805, right? But it says that, hey, no white man shall set foot on this property and be a master or be an owner, you know, from this day forward, you know, we're expelling you. And then I'm just wondering, is it coincidence with you having the Haitian ancestry, and then you're doing this documentary on, you know, sugar cane? I love the play of the words, you know, sugar cane. I don't know. It's mind blowing. I don't know if this is the ancestors working through you or what, but it's beautiful. I love this so much. It was very deep, and I see so many different connections. I'm sure someone else, feel free. I can't sit here and ask you questions all day, but I want to be respectful of time. Anyone else? Just unmute yourself and you know, speak, please.
To that though, it is why I did the Haitian Vodou tradition, because all the other traditions, except for the Dagara, because I loved one of their ancestralization rituals that isn't just to like honor people once they've passed, but to like bring them back home. And I felt like this is the next step, like not just to honor ancestors, but to bring them back and then to tell them what you need them to do. To be like, we're on the land. What we want you to do is we want you to find your descendants. We want you to help us bring down the prison industrial complex. We want you to aid us in fixing the issues of our day that you know about. Like, not just like, oh, lay you to rest, but lay you alive. Like, no, we're saying your names because we need you to help. So grab a shovel, go get your people. We've brought you back to help. So that's why I use Dagara. The other ones are connected geographically to the place. Haiti's connection and the other West Indian connection, the ritual that I chose is also in Jamaica as well, is because of the connection to sugarcane. And so that's why I made sure to do that one.
And I actually pulled it up too. It was the 1805 Constitution, but specifically what it says is that no white man of whatever nation he may be shall put his foot on this territory with the title of master or proprietor, neither shall he in future acquire any property therein. So it's like ultimately how you tied it in the beginning, you know, Cain being expelled, you know, for your crimes against us and, you know, making us chop down those sugar canes for your profit. It's like the same thing that happened, and you know, we're expelling you in Haiti, 1805, the same thing, you know. Shout out to the brave soldiers of Haiti, you know, Toussaint Louverture and Jean-Jacques Dessalines. But I'm just like, wow, this was so, I connected with this on a spiritual level, the documentary, so many different things in there. So yeah, I'm gonna post a link to the documentary in our group. It's like an hour long. So please, I'm telling you, check it out, it's worth the hour. I've been talking too much. Unmute yourself, family, and feel free to ask a question. It's a brilliant topic. I love it.
Yeah, brother Justin, I like what you were saying a minute ago, you know, about the sugarcane and what it says that they cannot enslave anyone. I like that. That's pretty deep.
Powerful.
Hello, Pepuma. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir. Silo. Brother Monte.
Thank you. Greetings, everybody. I've been listening since the beginning. very powerful. Yeah, I haven't. Sorry, I couldn't connect earlier, but um, yeah. So what our sister is doing is it's even more than powerful. We just need to look at it in a very spiritual way. Uh, because as I always told you, like, Africa never left you. If you remember, one of the things that I always told you guys is that on the motherland before the oppressor arrive, when our ancestors are gone, we never say rest in peace. Remember, you're not supposed to rest. You're supposed to go on the other side and work to protect your descendants. So we do not say RIP. The white man will say it, you know, but we don't say it. If you know what we're talking about, if you know what it's about, you know, when she said, for instance, that you know, when they're gone, they're supposed to do whatever they can do to kind of like help us, and because we are in fact their descendants. This is true in our traditions all the way back to the beginning of time. But because of more than 700 of oppression, so a lot of us have forgotten that even on the motherland. So even in Cameroon right now, on the Bamileke land, some people will mistakenly say rest in peace. But it's good for us to listen to our sisters done to kind of like reflect back on that concept. Now, also before I ask my question, I just want to make a few comments. Yes, so she also mentioned about the grieving part, right? So I don't know if you guys, I think I need to do that. I'm gonna send you probably a video on a group chat, and you guys are gonna see how women are crying a dead person on in the Bamileke land. Monkam, my brother Monkami knows about this. If there is any Bamileke or Cameroonian connected right now, they will know. There is a specific way how the Bamileke women cry or grieve the dead, the deceased person. You will actually think they're singing. It's very strange for a stranger. So for somebody who comes especially from the Western world, they will be surprised how those women are literally, it's like they're singing in the choir, but they're crying. You see them on the floor, and when they cry, they're usually sitting on the floor. And then as they sit on the floor or on the dirt or whatever, they always have their shoes off. And they're literally singing, but they're crying. Very interesting. And it has a rhythm that if you're around them, it's just take you somewhere. You don't even know where it takes you. There is something special about grieving, and she's right. We have a way to accompany or to guide the spirits of the person who's just gone, physically, of course. So all these concepts are very in our DNA where we just forgot about them. Somebody needs to like poke us again, like with a little needle. Like, you know how you're being poked by maybe a needle that you have in your pocket, you forget, right? And I think our sister Candice is actually doing that right now. So they're poking us on some of these concepts that are very important. So, sister, I know we were supposed to talk earlier, but I didn't have time. But I'm gonna take a chance to actually ask one question while I'm here. Now, in your vision into this, which is a very important vision, because what you're doing is more spiritual than anything physical. Now, the question I'm having is the community that you created in this concept. Can you say right now that the community around you leading this concept, can you say that you have enough understanding and support around you?
That's a good question. I think there's a lot of openness to the concepts, right? I don't think I'm grateful for whatever knowledge has been able to be remembered that's come to me through different teachers, right? But everybody doesn't have access or hasn't had access in the same way to that, right? So in a sense, the community of people who are supportive, I'm having to build it, right? By sharing with them what these practices are, which is part of the art and part of in association with this project. At the end of the film, you can see there's ritual that was filmed that we did with the community. They have never been exposed to anything like this. and I'm sharing what Elder Malidoma Somé has shared so graciously with those of us in the West. So we did a couple of these workshops that were not filmed to expose people to what this is. Some people do know about some kind of ancestralized, like they know about ancestor practices, but the concept, like you said, Monte, Brother Monte, about where they're not dead, as in they are to be active, as in you are to task them with things they're to do to intervene now, is kind of a new concept. So the community of people around me is really like my brother here, Manalek, like we've been together, you know, through one of these processes. It's communities of people like in different places who can help support me as I do the work to help create more opening around this area for this type of idea. But people are open, but no, they don't have no idea. They don't have any idea what this is. I was telling my mom earlier, like, then you have to deal with people asking like, oh, do you believe in God? Are you like, you know, it's a lot of that. There needs to just be like more education. So some of that is part of the work that I've committed to doing is sharing what I know and then directing people to like get with your ancestors and they will guide you. And that's all I can do. I'm gonna put you to your ancestors and I'm gonna let them take you where they want to take it.
Thank you. So yeah, this is beautiful. I mean, you say it right there. Letting them deal with their own angels, which are the ancestors, and kind of like babysit them. I mean, well, for those who want to listen to the fact that what you're doing is just a normal practice, which is actually a scientific practice. This is all about science, okay? But the thing is, we have a condition to believe that science is everything that could be written. But I'm telling you right now, even 85% of the science is you cannot write it. It is mystical. And this is what we need. We operate. This is what we master, but we just forget about it. So yeah, this is beautiful, man. This is awesome that you had that awakening. You actually doing the work. I think that's the most important part of what I'm seeing. This right. I watched the video. I took the time to. I have more questions, but I'm not gonna hold this because it's gonna be a lot. I think you and I, we're gonna have a session where I'm gonna be making some comment, suggestion, also other question I'm gonna ask you. But yeah, I'll let the floor for anybody who have any further question for her. Thank you.
And I do want to give a welcome to the brother Menelik. Welcome to the Reconnected Grassfields platform, and thank you for coming through. So it's just me acknowledging you, thanking you for taking time to join us in discussion.
Thank you.
So yes, sir, no problem. So yeah, we have the floor is open. Feel free to unmute yourself. If not, I'm gonna take your turn because I have a lot of questions too. So
I've got one question. Well, sister, thank you. Thanks a lot for providing all this information. They're quite useful. So you just says that you can actually lead someone to the ancestors, so the ancestor can put them where they want them to be. That just kind of like triggered my mind because I've got a friend in the UK over here. She's keep telling me that she feel that she got something where she see things, but she's scared to tap on it. She doesn't want to do that because she's scared. She's not ready to handle that. So what would you say to somebody who got that fear of knowing that they got something, but they prefer to be in the position where they are? They don't want to tap on it because they think that it could lead them to something they're not going to be able to manage it. So what would you say to that person?
Basically, when I talk about it with people, I keep it really low key, because all of us know or can imagine what it's like to be loved by a grandparent, and so that's kind of a universal thing, saying every people, indigenous practices, even in Europe, they're indigenous practices too. They honored their ancestors. Somewhere they got twisted and they got all crazy. But it's within us as humans to honor and want to be connected to the people we loved. So like, it doesn't have to, I usually am like, it ain't that deep. I mean, it can't get that deep. I just don't tell them that, you know, because you don't know what that will be turned into. But it's just like, people who loved you when you were alive, they love you even more now in the spirit. And you know, it's just like making a place, go talk to them. Talk to them, you know, tell them how you feel. Tell them if you think about them, put something there. And like your grandma, you loved her, she loves you, you know, honor that love. And usually, and then just being like, be open to what happens. Mostly then I don't encounter a lot of resistance, because that seems very like, you know, when you start saying ritual and ancestral, you know, like people get real like, what, they're gonna come and it's good. Like, it's your grandma. You scared of your grandma?
No.
No? Okay, talk to your grandma. Like, put a picture of your grandma, talk to your grandma, you know, and then as that you know, and usually I'm like, if that connection's there, it kind of leads. That's how I started. It started off with something very simple, and now my altar is not big enough for them, and I don't know how they're gonna give me a bigger table, but I ain't got no space. But you know, it starts off really simple, and then that relationship just evolves over time.
Yeah. Wow, thank you. Good answer. So if I got to ask something else, so on what level do you actually know that, yes, I think I can start working on what I've got, you know, in what level? Because sometimes we all got something, but sometimes we don't even know. There's some things happen, but we just think that, okay, oh, that just happened that way. But how can you actually kind of like concentrate and then just get everything and then start working on that and then start helping other people with that? I don't know if you got my question.
Sorry, yeah, can you repeat? I got distracted.
Okay, that's cool. I was saying that, you know, sometimes we see things and then we just kind of, oh, that was a bit weird, but you know, that's fine. And then things keep happening. You keep getting signal and sound about so many things. At what level do you think that you can actually kind of like focus and then get all that and then start working on that, and that's developing that, and then start helping other people, if that's your path of helping people, you know, because obviously the ancestor, they lead you to something, but you need to know they're gonna come, they're gonna talk to you, but you just, oh, that's it, that's a normal dream, that's nothing at all. But it keep happening. So when can you think that, okay, I think that it's happening a lot, and then I need to do something? Where can you go, and then how can you start it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm pausing because that's a question that I have asked a lot, and I still ask.
Okay.
And it's a little challenging. What does help is being able to, that I'm even able to go to retreats, spiritual retreat with Elder Malidoma Somé, and learn from someone. But when all of this started to happen in a very profound way that I couldn't ignore, which it had been happening, and I was very, very good at ignoring it and being like, nah, blah, was after my father passed, and too many things happened for me to pretend like something wasn't happening. But at the time I was very, this was February 2019. And even then I didn't know where to go with it or what to do with it. What I think I've had to trust, and I'm still learning to trust, is that if they're coming to you, they're gonna guide you to where. And I think sometimes I personally I like education, I like books. I want someone to tell me right away. And when spirit is teaching you something, or spirits are teaching you something, you don't get to have the concrete, like, it's all it's all a mystery.
Okay.
And I think that's been hard, like being in the West, being like, I don't want mystery. I want it in a book. I want to go find the book that tells me the practice to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not how a lot of these, none of these evolved from books and from the written word. And you have to trust it when they come to you and they reveal a thing. You just kind of have to go with it. Later on, I found out like, oh, this is part of this, but some of this is like not even intuitive, like spirits told me. And I just had to be like, I hope I'm doing the right thing. So I think mainly is the only thing that I know to do is to really be like, ancestors, you got to take me where you need me to learn the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because so I did end up with Elder Malidoma Somé, and then I ended up here, you know, and so you find that you do end up with the people who have more knowledge to help you learn these kind of mystery systems, because any of the information you want is never in a book, unfortunately. And I hate that. I still hate that. I wish I want to go to Amazon.
Please don't hate.
Download
Don't hate. Don't hate it. Don't hate it, please. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay, I love it. You're right. I love it. I love that it's not in a book.
You
you.
won't find anything in the book.
Yes.
Find in the book. I mean, that specific friend, something she told me is that she already seen so many things, you know, so many things happening in her life and everything. And then someone pop on her Facebook Messenger, and the person says that you got something, I need to speak to you. And then, you know, we can. And then she told me that. And then, you know, the first one, I didn't know what to say. I said, okay, you know what? Maybe you should just let the person tell you thing. But she blocked the person. So I didn't know if it was a good thing to block the person or to actually listen to the person. Because what I believe is that sometimes when somebody can see that you got something, they may come over there to get that thing from you. You know, they may try and get that from you because they actually can see that you got something you can actually help someone. They may need that to actually not helping, but to actually use that on a different way.
It's so tricky because you really need, in this, like, there's so many fake babalaos and shamans. And so you really have to, like, I feel like, I don't know if this is correct or not, but typically, like, I need to vet stuff through my spirit and my people, because even getting a word from the wrong voice, like I don't even want the vibration of something that you're not supposed to tell me to be told to me. So there's like a need for a lot of discernment, and I feel like in social media and public spaces, because there's so many fake people who want to like speak a word and then sell you a remedy. And now you need an ebo because they, without prompting, told you, you know, something. And now you're paying for a chicken and a goat, you know? And so I don't know. It's beneficial though to find somebody that you trust, or someone that you trust someone.
Okay.
To check with, I think, otherwise it would be really tricky.
I feel, well, G, I'm gonna connect her with you and Brother Monty, so you can actually kind of like assess the person and see. I will definitely do that.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that wonderful question. A quick comment about that last statement that you just made, Sister Candice. I do think that it's a blessing for our brothers and sisters who are born on the continent in Cameroon, who are connected, you know, with their spirituality, connected with the ancient traditions, because they have somewhat of a foundation of that knowledge, you know, that's within them, that they can implement certain things. They have resources. They know who to ask certain things. Unfortunately, over here, yeah, you know, you mentioned that southern, I forget how you quoted it, but that southern belief. I know exactly what you're talking about. My grandmother practices too. It's like working with certain different roots, they do certain different things. It's like you don't really see it as much with my generation now, but my grandparents, they had that knowledge, that ancient knowledge. But I think that people know that we have a yearning to get back to our ancestral roots, our ancestral practices, and they exploit that. You know what I mean? They get a little bit of the knowledge, you know, from someone who knows someone who knows someone, and now they just serve it to us. And a lot of us are gullible. We'll take it and we'll eat it up because we want to be reconnected, you know, that bad. So that's a good thing that is not in books, because that'll just be even more people who could get a foundation of it, and now they can, you know, mislead other people. So it's a good thing that it's kept to a limited amount of people who, you know, have proven themselves worthy to have that knowledge. So does anyone else have any questions or?
Well, say, brother
I have
John.
a question.
So, Sister Candice, don't put anything on the book, please.
No book.
No, I won't. I will not. No book for me.
They thieves. Look, they take our books and they exploit it. You know what I mean? They take our stuff and then they manipulate it, and even yeah. Sister Pam, you can go ahead, please.
Go ahead.
I can rant on and on about this. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say also how important it is for us to connect with our people when we go home and touch ground, because the ways here in America, you know, you can have the gift, but it won't manifest until you get on ground and you learn from the ancient way, you know, our ancestors, the ancient ways, how they did it, how they really did it the right way. And that's why it's so important for us to go home. It's important for us to connect with our people.
I think you went out, but we're still listening.
So while she's back. Okay, I'm gonna share something, but I hope that Brother Monte is okay for me to share it. Is it okay, Brother Monte? About my brother, is it okay?
What do you want to share?
I want to share the experience I had where you heard me about my brother when I lost my brother recently. Is it okay to share it?
Yeah, go ahead. No problem.
Well, so thank you for that, Brother Monte. 6 months ago, you know, anything again, just to go back that thing with you, you're not gonna find that on the book, and they're quite strong. So 6 months ago, I lost a brother, you know, my eldest brother. It was quite a shock. You know, everything was perfect. He was fine. I spoke to him like maybe 2 days before, you know, there was no sign of anything. And then we just had a phone call, he's gone. So I called Brother Monte, I spoke to him about it. And he says that, you know what, the sound of what happened is not a natural death. There's something behind that. And then he told me that you got to do certain ritual. So I spoke to my brother when in Cameroon. He's in France. So he went in Cameroon, and then he was about to apply the ritual Brother Monte told me. But my mom, my brother didn't actually speak to my mom when he got there. So he didn't see mom. But mom already went and see a shaman who actually told her about the same ritual. So that's what you got to do. I mean, the ritual is quite simple. It's that you see, when somebody died in Cameroon, in Africa, anywhere where somebody died anywhere. So you got certain days, I think maybe 7 days, that the person gonna come back. Is the person's soul is going amongst the family member to ask for revenge, not actually revenge, to inquire about what happened, you know. And then again, in the Bamileke land, what happened when somebody died on that way. If the person's ill, everyone knows that, you know, the person, you know, gonna go. There's no question about it. But when the person died and then it's sudden, so even if the family doesn't look for what happened to the person, the other family, like if us or my mom's side of family doesn't look for that, my dad's side of family gonna look at that. They're gonna find out, okay, what happened to our son? So us as a family, my mom's side and everyone, we have to look and inquire about what happened. So the ritual was quite simple. So before the 7th day, we need to actually make sure that if there's any specific dance they're going to be doing in the house where the person died, without doing any kind of dance, because there's certain dance will actually capture the soul of the person. And then after the 7 days, when the body is back in this house, you need to apply a sound from like back home when the woman will be cooking outside. You got the sun, you put that on the forehead. So anyone who actually involved on taking that person's life, they're not going to let you do that, because they have to go around the person's body to actually capture the soul of the person and then donate to wherever the person, where they ask them. So we did that. And then when we went to the village as well, there was certain ritual which brother mom, they told me, I didn't know. So mom did that ritual as well. And then it was just like to ask that if anyone is involved on this, because I remember mom calling me. She asked me, Vince, are you involved on your brother's death? And I said, no, mom, how can you ask me that? She said, no, I'm just saying that because obviously there will be a ritual which can involve everyone, everyone. So on the same day, before they actually put my brother on the ground, they asked anyone, is anyone in here who knows anything about the death of this, our son? So no one, nothing happened. And trust me, the king of the village says that, okay, I know that my son death was provoked by someone. And then what's going to happen is that maximum 6 months after his death is gone, if the person doesn't come and apologize for what happened, so we can actually remove that ritual, the person going to go. And 2 months after that, the person to my brother was gone. So she went to the chairman to protect herself, because she said that she couldn't sleep. She couldn't close her door. It was a family member. So she couldn't sleep. She couldn't do anything at all. So she went to the shaman, so the shaman can protect her against that. My brother's spirit was coming back to her to get her. And the shaman told her that, you need to come back tomorrow morning, because I need to go and find more stuff in the forest. So the shaman left, and then he never returned. And then she came back in the next day. She fell on the shaman floor, and then she was gone. So that was exactly. So things like that, you're not going to find that on the book, but it's quite strong, So that's what happened. Yeah.
It's a deeply personal story, testimony, brother. And
I
just want to say thank you for sharing that with us. And once again, my condolences is to your brother.
Who already have seen a volcano eruption? Who have seen it with their own eye?
I have. It's scary.
Okay, if you haven't seen it with your own eye, like in front of you or far, I'm sure you have seen it on TV at least.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So now, when a volcano erupts, you guys are going to see what I'm going. In the volcano eruption, what comes out of that volcano is actually fire at a very, very, very high temperature, to the point where it becomes liquid. But if you look at that so-called liquid, thick fire coming down like a thick kind of like jelly type of thing that descend the mountain, on top of it, what do you see? You're going to see like a black charcoal deposit on top of it. After that fire cools down, all becomes dark like charcoal. So when the scientists go and study that, they're saying that it is the best charcoal ever that you can have, because the darkness coming from it, is compatible to what they find in a so-called black hole. Why am I saying this? In the Bamilekin land, we call that Njimo, meaning fire, that has like a black, like a very, very dark side. But that dark side of fire represent really that very deep element that you as a person, you are. Because they're saying that you as a human being, you also compared to fire, right? This is why when somebody gets mad, they're saying that you could burn like a fire and then you regret, because when the fire starts burning, listen, everything just dies. I mean, pretty much, like, and then there's no return from it, right? So I say this to say this, brother and sisters. The mystery of all these things, it is a good thing, because in that mystery, you can actually find your way in it if you are conscious enough. But it is because the mystery of nature, that nature is everlasting. If it was understood, trust me, humankind would have destroyed the entire planet or the entire universe. It is because of that mystery that things would be everlasting. So let's not be frustrated by not understanding some dreams, or by not understanding what these ancestors want to say, or by not even knowing what this means, what that means. But if you keep just kind of like, it's like when you have a car, right? You know, if you do your oil change on time, your engine is gonna last, right? So it's the same thing with your ancestor, which are your angel. If you keep doing that in a very, I won't say on a daily basis, but if you could do a daily basis, that's a good thing. But if you keep that contact, I'm telling you, you're going to be like, you're gonna end up like a very quote unquote weird person close to your other friend that don't do that only because they forget about it. So did you know that after a volcanic eruption all over around the world, after that whole thing has swept away all the way to where it stops, did you know that after that fire burns all the area and the black deposit finally goes on top of it, did you know that that's where the soil is the most fertile? Now, how about that mystery? As a matter of fact, when the volcano has erupted in Cameroon, in what's called the Mont Cameroon, which is in the northwest region of Cameroon, which is also a Bamileke region, people were actually fighting to actually farm on that land because that's when the soil is the most productive and fertile after the volcano burns down everything. Now, how about the mystery? Would you be mad or would you be happy? Oh, by the way, it is also at that time that they find the most precious minerals after that erupt. So yes, mystery is a good thing. It is in it that we are the more powerful, and it's in it that the white man can never reach us. And we should be, you know, proud, right? Now you could clap your hand now.
I wish we could set up a couple of hours and let you just speak, you know, and we just absorb all of the knowledge that you share with us. We learn so much from you, brother. And let me say this. I see you, Sister Pam. Let me say this about Brother Monte. Man, I have called him so many times, and no matter what, he'll make the time and just go through and just speak and tell me so many different things, man. Every single time. He's a great guy, great person, full of knowledge, always open to speaking. Brother, I love that about you. So I thank you, and thank you for coming every Sunday and sharing with us what you know so that we can grow together as well. So, Sister Pam, I saw your hand. The floor is yours.
No, but I was just clapping. I was giving him some praise because when he speaks so real and so it speaks with so much conviction, you know. It's a blessing to me to hear the things that he speak about, because I always tell him that he's an old soul. He's been here. He has so much knowledge. He's picked it up from every ancestor. And like you said, it's a blessing. It's not something that's picked up in the book. I'm glad it's not in the books, because the white man was still everything. They're still that. This is something that we hold and they can never take from us. So it's a blessing. And thank you always for that knowledge.
I agree. It will be stolen and corrupted and used for evil, just like the I'm sure at one point in time, you know, the Torah and the New Testament, I'm sure, you know, it's a lot of wisdom in those texts. But we see also a lot of people have been enslaved, you know, so is the text evil, or is it the people who are using it evil? And, you know, I think it would be the same way with our traditions. They would take it and they would corrupt it and do this and that. Perhaps that could be a different discussion, proposed discussion as well that we could have. But we're about to run out of time. We have about 10 minutes left. I want to give Sister Candice the opportunity to share her final thoughts. And I want to give everyone else who didn't get a chance to ask their question to ask a question, and then we can wrap up this wonderful and informative session. So, Sister Candice, the floor is yours for your final thoughts.
I just want to say, Brother Monte, thank you for that redirection. I have a hard time with, I'm a willing participant to the things that are, you know, happening. But one thing that's been difficult for me is like letting go of the semblance of control, which is so bred in us in the West, right? It's especially when you only validate people based on credentials. And then you like, you know, you're like, hey, such and some told me this, or who told you that? A spirit. Like, no, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'd be like, you be putting me in some predicaments. I'm open for the journey, but this is the second time that someone has had to tell me to embrace the mystery. And that's, I'll be honest, sometimes I don't like the positions I be put in, because I'd be like, I don't know, I guess I'll figure out when you're ready to tell me what I'm doing here, why I'm here. But I thank you for that redirection, because the reason that it is mystery is it's a protection. It's a protection. It's a vetting and it's a protection. And I'm here for it, but I ain't gonna lie, it's not my favorite all the time, but I'm loving it and I'm embracing it. This is where I'm at. I'm embracing. You can feel my face.
Good peno. Voila. Look, it's okay. There are so many things you don't even need to explain to nobody. Don't waste your time. It is what you leave. See, when you go to sleep, you close your eye. Whatever happened there, who do you think? There's no way you can explain to somebody what you see when you close your eye, like in a very detailed way. But you know what you see. So it's okay. It's a reality. It's your own. That's what matters. That's it.
That's so real. Thank you. I do have the link for the film. I would love for you guys to watch it and stay in contact with me about it and your feelings about it. And I'm really glad to be a part of this community and have all of you to engage with, where these ideas are just conversation and not weird. And that is great. And this has been wonderful. And if you do know any people that you feel like would resonate with the project, please share it with them so that some of this information can get out there and people can know it and see it. And it'll be up until November 14th. And then it'll live somewhere else for free. I will have to figure out if it'll be on my website or not, but.
Absolutely. So we have about 7 minutes. I'm gonna ask again, does anyone else have any questions or final comments before we wrap it up?
Question, but I do want to say thank you to both of our guests today. You guys were very touching. I love both of your stories and your spirits, and I'm definitely watching that documentary later on tonight. And I want to say welcome to both of you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
In the words of Brother Monte, go pano. Go
Can you put
pano.
mine in the room?
In where?
In the room.
In the room?
Oh, I thought Prince Toko had something.
Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. do that. I do have one suggestion. I know you're going to put the link in our room, but for people who will only be able to see this on video, is there a way you can put the link on here so people will be able to see it when they watch, or find the link when they watch this video?